but he did send his apologies to us. For that reason, we did also have Mr. Mark Graham on the phone call this morning, and I just told him that we'll go ahead and push his report back to the next Law and Order Committee meeting. And at this time, I believe that the next Law and Order Committee meeting is going to be scheduled for December 12th. And I will explain the reason for canceling the November 28th Law and Order Committee meeting, but the next meeting is going to be for December 12th. So committee members, if you guys are good with it, we can just go ahead and have that item removed from the agenda. Are there any objections to that? Okay, not hearing any objections, we can go ahead and proceed to the next item on the agenda. And what I'll do is I will go ahead and if you give me 1 minute, let me get this set up on my Facebook page.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Nikita.
Madam Chair, hi, it's Nikita. I just received a text message from Kyron. He said it's live streaming now. Thank you.
It's live streaming now. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Nikita. So with that, committee members, since that is on live streaming, can somebody verify that it is live streaming?
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press.
Nikita, can you verify that it's being live streamed on Facebook?
Madam Chair, yes, it's live streaming. Thank you. Bye. Perfect.
So with that, committee members, we do move on to, for those of you joining us on the World Wide Web, this is the Law and Order Committee for the 24th Navajo Nation Council. This is a regular meeting via telecommunication. Today is November 21st, 2022. The current time is 10:48. We did call this meeting to order this morning around 10, I believe it was around 10:16. We have gone through the agenda. However, there was a request to put this report on social media since we are seeing an overwhelming number of tags and information being conveyed to the Law and Order Committee regarding this next topic or this next item on the agenda. So we'll go ahead and move forward to item 5B, a report from Jesse Delmar, the Executive Director of Division of Public Safety, and Daryl Noon, Chief of Police for the Navajo Nation Police Department, on the matter regarding people who are reporting on social media that relatives are getting picked up by transport drivers, and how this is, what we need to know is how is this handled by Navajo Nation Police Department. We also will be receiving a report from Vernon Jackson, the Chief Prosecutor for the Office of the Chief Prosecutor, regarding care centers who are picking up our Navajo relatives from the streets. And we want to know whether these actions warrant kidnapping charges, since some are being transported across state lines. So with that, committee members, I do see that we have Deputy Chief Ronald Silversmith with us on the line, as well as Chief Prosecutor Vernon Jackson, who is also on the line with us. We have Chief of Police Daryl Noon on the line with us. We do not have Director Jesse Delmar. However, Director Jesse Delmar has shared, or he's asked his chiefs to be part of this conversation. So with that, committee members, can I get a motion and a second to hear this report?
Motion, Delegate James.
Motion made by Delegate Vince James. Can I get a second? Committee members, can I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Delegate Edmund Yazzie. So with that, I will state for the record, Chief Noon, thank you for being on the call. Chief Prosecutor Jackson, thank you for being on the call. Deputy Chief Silversmith, thank you for being on the call. And any of your agents who are here ready to answer questions regarding this issue that we are seeing currently on the Navajo Nation. You will have 20 minutes combined to provide this information to the committee. Upon completion, if you could let the committee know that you are done so that we can ask questions regarding the report and then also the concerns that are being posed by many of our Navajo people who are being affected by this issue. So do you have any questions regarding the procedure at this time? Chief Noon?
No, ma'am, no questions, and good morning.
Good morning. Deputy Chief Silversmith, do you have any questions regarding the procedure?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. Chief Prosecutor, Mr. Jackson, do you have any questions regarding the procedure?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay, with that, just know that you can call up to 2 agents to help assist you in this process. I would like to remind everyone right now who are listening in to make sure that your phone is on mute or to make sure that your computer is muted. Any disruption of the report is disruption of the work that is being done on behalf of our Navajo people. Consider this to be a first warning to all of you. If your phone is not muted, Lorraine, Sherelle, I do give you permission to hang up on the individual and you will have to call right back in again. So with that, since there are no questions regarding the procedure, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to the 3 of you. Again, that's Chief Daryl Noon, Deputy Chief Silversmith, and then Chief Prosecutor, Mr. Jackson. The floor is yours.
Well, good morning. This is Chief Noon, Navajo Police Department. I'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Law and Order Committee, everyone who's online, and everybody who's listening on social media. So these transports came to our attention several months ago when we created a small patrol detective section that started investigating our missing persons cases, the cases that are not assigned to criminal investigations. So we have a group of roughly 5 to 6 officers who are serving in the capacity of a detective conducting follow-up. And one of our sergeants who was assigned to this section started noticing that there was more chatter about these vans coming back onto Navajo and potentially taking relatives off the nation. And he actually contacted some people who had been taken and had participated in the treatment centers down in the valley, the Phoenix metropolitan area. And, they had come back. And so he, as this started getting more push on social media with other people in other parts of the Navajo Nation, and also in the border towns, Farmington and Gallup in particular. He went to a training in Albuquerque that was hosted by, I believe it was the FBI and the MMIW task force of New Mexico. So he contacted the FBI, let them know what was going on, and they did some checking and found out that this is occurring in many other tribes in Arizona, in New Mexico, and I think up in Utah So when he brought this to their attention, they started looking at it a little closer. And then we realized, there was, let me backtrack. So then when we set up a meeting, we had a meeting with Gallup PD, their detective unit. And they had mentioned some of the stories that they were hearing. And one of them in particular, I think, is one that's highlighted in social media, where a subject was refusing to go with these, we're calling them recruiters, refusing to go to the valley with them. And they offered to take the person across town. And when the person got in the vehicle, they ended up taking them to Phoenix. So what we were seeing at that time here on Navajo was we weren't really getting any reports of any physical abductions, any people physically forced into these vehicles. And when we started making contact with more and more people who had said that they'd been taken down to Phoenix, they didn't like the fact that law enforcement was involved in most cases. They got upset with the officers, asking things like, why are you missing with us? They are treating us better down there. And some of them get into situations at home where they say, well, our family doesn't want us anyway. So, these guys are taking care of us down there. And then we've also run into people who have gone down to these treatment centers and have actually come back. And I don't have specific names, but some of our detective people have actually talked to some who have stopped drinking, and they're going around and recruiting other people on Navajo to go down and participate in these with these treatment homes. And they're describing, they get obviously treated better, they get food, they get shelter, they're incentivized to progress through the treatment centers. And but then again, like we started hearing through the like in the Gallup area, we saw the post in Farmington, and so it was just a mixture of like what was really going on. The majority of what we were hearing was that these people, our citizens on Navajo, were going willingly. They would pick them up, take them to their house, let them pack some clothes, let their family know they were going to go, and then they would take them down to the Phoenix area. And it was more when we started hearing in other places where they weren't exactly being told exactly what was going on. So we got a hold of the FBI. We had a couple of meetings with them. And then what they were doing on the New Mexico side, from the stories that they were hearing, was they were researching the possibility of charging kidnapping, but they needed specific questions asked and specific answers to help them decide in their charging. And then what they told us was on the Arizona side, the Arizona FBI, they were the lead agents in this investigation, but they were looking at it more through the lens of healthcare fraud and the things of that nature. So, but the other thing that we noticed was the two sides weren't really talking to each other. So we told the FBI out of New Mexico, give us the list of questions that you need asked, and we'll have our guys go out and find people who have been taken, and we can ask these questions specifically. And then that's also when we decided, to post this on our social media and tell people, hey, if you've been taken down there, get a hold of us so we can ask you some questions. And that was all really to assist the FBI in their investigations, as all, so the question that is not, I guess, clear for us really until we are able to interview people who have been transported off Navajo is what is the situation, surrounding that event? Are they intoxicated, not thinking clearly? Are they not able to make, sound decisions for themselves? Are they being coerced, to go with these recruiters? And so that's why we set up this deal on our Facebook page to get people to conduct more interviews. And just, there's been other people, you know, that in Tuba City, for instance, there's a person there that basically told us that, you know, it's getting cold. When they come back, I'm going to go with them, you know, because they're not welcome at home. And so that's kind of where we're at. There's a lot more details that we're sorting through and a lot more things that I really don't want to get into, you know, in a public forum. But we have been communicating directly with the FBI, both in New Mexico and Arizona, and with the BIA for their assistance. And I'll wrap my portion up now, and for Chief Prosecutor or Deputy Chief if they have anything. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Vernon Jackson with the Office of the Chief Prosecutor. I do want to say, first of all, that concerning this matter, the Office of the Prosecutor has not received any kind of reports or anything from the police to establish the need to analyze the situation for possible prosecution within the Navajo Nation court if the jurisdictional issues, of course, are in place. For instance, if it's a Native American individual who's picking up these individuals and picking them off, you have some of those questions that are out there with regards to that, and obviously picking the individual outside of the Navajo Nation certainly does bring the need to do everything that Chief Noon is doing, which sounds like he's on top of it. I think the only thing that we're concerned about is if there are facts and incidents that pertain to specific matters of removing an individual from the Navajo Nation knowingly and intentionally doing it. We should be made aware of it. We should be provided police reports so as to determine if charges could and should be filed within the Navajo Nation court. There are specific provisions within Navajo Nation law that would be Title 17-304, which is kidnapping, which says that a person commits kidnapping when he or she intentionally or knowingly and without authority of law and against the will of the victim detains or restrains another for a substantial period, or detains or restrains another in circumstances exposing him or her to the risk of serious injury, bodily injury, or holds another in involuntary servitude, or detains or restrains a minor without a consent of his or her parent or guardian. So far, what I've heard from Chief Noon, I don't think that we have any intent or knowingly culpable mental state that has been put forward to say that somebody is intentionally and knowingly detaining these folks for a substantial period of time, exposing them to risk of serious bodily injury, holding them against their will for servitude, or detaining them because or detaining them without consent from their parent or guardian. I haven't seen any or heard any facts in that regard. The second provision within the Navajo Nation law is Section 305 of Title 17, which is aggravated kidnapping. A person commits aggravated kidnapping if the person intentionally or knowingly, without authority of law or against the will of the victim, by any means, by any manner, seizes, confines, detains, or transport the victim with the intent of, number one, to hold for ransom or reward, or as a shield or a hostage, or to compel a third person to engage in a particular conduct, or to forbear from engaging in particular conduct. That's number one. Number two, with the intent to facilitate the commission, attempted commission, or flight after commission, or attempted commission of an offense. Number three, with the intent to inflict bodily injury or to terrorize the victim or another, or finally, with the intent to interfere with the performance of any government or political function. So thus far, Madam Chair, members of the public, and also distinguished members of the Law and Order Committee, the Navajo Nation Office of the Prosecutor has not received any police reports that substantiate that there are elements of the crime that have been committed as a result of actions of individuals who fall within the jurisdiction of the Navajo Nation, whether for 304 kidnapping or 305 aggravated kidnapping. But most certainly, as we go forward, we will work closely with Chief Noon and his patrol detectives to figure if there's any situation that we might be needed for in terms of looking at a matter for possible charging. In closing, I would like to say that from what I'm hearing so far from Chief Noon, it sounds like these individuals are being helped and they want to be helped. There may be one or two, maybe three that do not fall in that category, but may fall into the category of 304 or 305. And in those cases, we would be most willing to look at the matter if the jurisdictional facts are in place, and also if the elements of the crime are in place. That's my report this morning. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that. Does that conclude the report?
Madam Chair, I don't know how much time is left, but I can also provide some updates as far as the case goes.
Go ahead, Deputy Chief.
Our detective unit, as far as their primary objective in working missing person cases, although this new issue related to the white van and rehabilitation centers actively recruiting Navajo Nation, it's pretty much been successful. The recent 72 plus missing people that was released and segregated from the FBI listing, the majority of these individuals have been identified as involved or participating in some of these off-reservation rehabilitation centers. Again, as Chief Noon and Chief Prosecutor stated, a lot of it has been voluntary as far as leaving with these people. There are some that have been either drugged or coerced by free pizza or a free meal, or to have a roof over their head down in the Phoenix Valley. So our patrol detective unit is actively working this case, and they will be traveling to some of the border cities to search for some of our missing people that have left the reservation, those that are either addicted to substance abuse of some sort. To work with our bordering law enforcement agencies. In this particular case, our detective unit will be working hand in hand with the Phoenix Valley Metro Police Department to locate and identify these off-reservation facilities down in Phoenix. I think they already identified one target that they will be conducting a raid on. But again, the progress of this case is at the federal level. Our detectives have been working with FBI, Criminal Investigation, and the United States Attorney's Office out of the Phoenix Valley to determine whether federal charges should be filed against some of these companies. And I think they're also looking into some sort of fraudulent activities with medical benefits such as the Arizona access, though some of their, I think there's some cases where these facilities have tried to redivert our Navajo people's monthly their checks that they receive either at pawn shops or other locations. So it's fortunate that our, those pawn shops that really know our people, they kind of speak for the people to say that, we need to hear from the individual that has this account with us to actually be in person to provide this information. So our detective unit has been successful in contacting some of these facilities to inquire about our Navajo people that have been transported down to the valley. But when our detective units try to do follow-up calls, either the numbers have been changed or they just refuse to answer calls from our detective unit. That's basically where we're at. We also have provided somewhat a report to the Human Rights Commission so they can begin their process of looking into this matter. And I think working with Chief Prosecutor as far as extradition or exclusionary orders on some of these individual will be in the near future once we collaborate with criminal investigation and approach Chief Prosecutor to see what kind of Navajo Nation tribal court remedies that we can impose upon these non-Indians. So every specialty unit, every patrol officer within the Navajo Police Department are aware of these potential white vans. So anything suspicious that they're being encouraged to investigate or at least look into. So, and since we're live streaming, I would like to remind the public that we did a post on the 17th regarding the white van. And if anything suspicious or if they've experienced the same trauma as far as being taken off the reservation, they can call Sergeant Dash at 928-637-3028. Or since we're working with the FBI, they can also call the FBI at 1-800-225-5324 or submit their tips online at tips.fbi.gov. So so it's really been a developing case with our department. We did meet with Gallup Police Department. They reported similar situations where 100 plus people who were considered missing within the Gallup vicinity. But again, through their inquiries, a lot of these people have been found or located being a part of this scandal of some sort related to being transported off the reservation. And since the majority of their contacts have been voluntary, they pretty much didn't go forward with any criminal charges. Again, they're closely working with our department as far as clearing up their 100 plus lists and referring some of their cases to each Navajo police district that has a detective unit assigned to work on some of these cases. As far as the action plan, our detective unit and with the chief's office will be providing, I think they meet every other week to provide reports. My understanding is those reports will be also provided to the DAP Commission, Law and Order Committee, and the Navajo Tribal Council when requested upon. So we're kind of preparing for that. So, and our detective unit has actively been involved with training meetings off the reservation in Albuquerque, down in the Phoenix Valley, and we're enhancing their training next week as far as doing a full week's training for our detectives to get more familiarized with working some of these cases. And the good thing about our detective unit is some hold special law enforcement commission and some hold state authority commission. So in case we have to act upon the non-Indians, some of them have that state's authority and federal commission to act upon. So that will be the extent of my report that I'm going to be adding to this report you have. Thank you.
Okay, wow, that was a lot of information. I honestly missed a few. I missed I missed the phone numbers. I'm hoping that you can repeat that here soon. But other than that, committee members, are there any questions or comments at this time based on the report that has been provided to us here by Chief of Police Daryl Noon, Deputy Chief of Police Mr. Ronald Silversmith, and then our Chief Prosecutor, Mr. Vernon Jackson? I do. This is Chair. Can we get that? I know that you did send a kind of a rundown on an email. Can we get that actually in a report so that we can send that out to the 24th Navajo Nation Council? I think that a lot of our delegates are being contacted regarding what is going on. For the one person that did tag me and who told me, what was happening, I asked if they did do a police report, and they said that they didn't. So it sounds like we need to encourage families to do this police report in order for us to move forward. But Mr. Deputy Chief Silversmith, the numbers that you shared, can you share those numbers again so that we can make that known on social media, that in the event they are concerned about relatives being picked up, whether willingly or I hope not unwillingly, but can you share that information so that we can put that out there?
Yes, ma'am, Shanantai. Again, if our people can't write these numbers down, they can find it on our Facebook page, Navajo Police Department. The contact person will be Sergeant Roland Dash. He's our detective sergeant leading the patrol detective unit. His number is 928-637-3028, or they can also contact the FBI at 1-800-225-5324, or they can submit their tips online at tips.fbi.gov.
Thank you for that. Committee members, delegates who are listening in, are there any questions or comments regarding the report that has been provided to us here by Navajo Division of Public Safety, as well as our own prosecutor's office? Okay, not hearing anything from committee members. I would like to ask, I know that we do have Miss Laureline Tapahi. Is there a way that the Navajo Nation can ban outside healthcare providers from coming onto the nation and taking individuals, regardless of whether they are doing it willingly or not? I think there needs to be a something in place that would not allow them to do that. So what can we do legally to make it where if you're going to come onto the Navajo Nation to recruit individuals to your rehabilitation center or to your detox center, that somebody is made aware, and that we make it known that this Navajo is being transported off, because we also have to keep in mind that if they are being transported off the nation, we need to ensure that they are going to be transported back to their community. Perhaps Chief Prosecutor Jackson, you can maybe help us with that. If DOJ is on the line, or if we have our own Miss Loralyn Tapahi who can answer that question, I think we need to just have that discussion today, if we can get some ideas on how we can do that. So I'm going to turn the floor back over to the presenters to answer that question.
Madam Chair, this is Vernon Jackson. I will engage in a discussion quickly concerning the exclusion of companies as opposed to individuals from the Navajo Nation. Typically, these cases that involve exclusion matters are handled by the Office of the Prosecutor, where a petition is filed in Navajo Nation court, asking the court to issue, asking the judge to issue an order to exclude the individual for the various reasons that are articulated in the petition. And the reasons that could be articulated is for reasons that is not in the best interest of the Navajo people. And of course, you would tease that out to substantiate taking people from their homes or from the streets or from the highways or wherever it is that they're picking them up. Is not necessarily only a discussion about criminal activity in the context of excluding an individual. And I'll get to the company here in just a bit. But in excluding an individual, you don't necessarily have a situation where you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the person is committing a certain act. Here now, an exclusion matter is a civil matter, which means it's a lesser proof. And so in presenting a case to exclude an individual for behavior or conduct that is detrimental to the well-being and the safety of the Navajo people, whether it's the local community or the Navajo Nation as a whole, is a process that takes place through a petition. And in most cases that we've done, the individual has been excluded from the Navajo Nation because it's basically showing that the person is a detriment to the Navajo people. Now, when you put that in the context of a company, it takes a different spin. And I am not going to sit here and say that it is not possible to exclude a particular company from the Navajo Nation using the same process, that we do to exclude an individual. I do believe it's a case of first impression. I do believe that it would be a new frontier in terms of creating a case law when we talk about excluding a particular company. In the Navajo Nation Code, their companies can be charged with criminal offenses. Corporations can be charged, companies can be charged. So I believe that there is some leeway to exclude a particular company for behavior in conduct of its employees that is detrimental to the Navajo people. So that's my beginning thoughts here as we engage in this discussion about excluding individuals / companies from the Navajo Nation. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Lurleen.
Go ahead, Lorraine.
I would recommend that DOJ look into this. I think Mr. Jackson is right that there is a clear distinction between individuals being excluded and companies being excluded. I think that the exclusion of companies would be a lot easier to do from a legal standpoint. The problem that I see is if an individual is age 18 and they're not incompetent, they're not adjudicated incompetent, they may be wanting to go of their own volition. They maybe want to be picked up because they have no other options. They have no family support. They don't have a treatment center here on the reservation. So the issue, I don't know if social services can look into it, or perhaps elder care services could look into it. The issue is whether the any kind of law that is aimed towards preventing these, for lack of a better word, kidnappings. If a law is going to be, first of all, enforceable, and secondly, how does the Navajo Nation deal with situations where the individuals are going of their own accord, and they want to go to a border town or, off the reservation to get treatment, to be in a facility? So that's a very tricky question that would have to be addressed. And so I would recommend that DOJ, if the committee is serious about addressing this with some kind of legislation, that DOJ research the legality, the issue, the ability for the Navajo Nation to exclude companies or to prohibit transportation of Navajo enrolled members off the reservation, something of that nature. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Tapahi. Do we have anybody from Department of Justice on the line? Lorraine, can we get Ms. Latanya from DOJ on the line so that she can answer this question? And the reason I'm asking this question regarding exclusion is we are having individuals who are being taken, and as stated through this report and also on social media, some of them are being taken while they are intoxicated. In my short time being a prosecutor, I know that being intoxicated, there's questions of whether they knowingly agreed to be, to act in the, to act in their full capacity, whether they were mentally aware or whether they're even aware at all. There's a lot of case law surrounding that issue. But if we can make that argument in terms of crimes being committed and looking at the state of the individual, then we should also be looking at the state of the individual when they are agreeing, and I'm using air quotes right now, when they are agreeing to be taken off the Navajo Nation. And so what I worry about is somebody who is intoxicated, who is taken off the Navajo Nation, waking up in a facility and not knowing how they got there, asking questions, and then also wanting to be released, whether that's something that can be done. I know that we do have extradition laws that are currently in place that say that, if an individual is going to be taken and arrested by federal or even other jurisdictions, that they have to go through the court system. I don't anticipate a very lengthy process of that nature, but we do need to have some type of mechanism in place that does protect our Navajo people from, being taken to these facilities. Granted, it may be for a good reason, but taking an individual who may be intoxicated or who may not be in their right state of mind is probably not the best thing to do. I also worry because there's a lot of crossing of state lines that's involved. And since the Navajo Nation is considered to be a sovereign nation, I would think that they are also crossing sovereign lines as well, which does elevate any type of kidnapping then to aggravated kidnapping. I believe that an individual was recently sentenced to death because of the crime being committed and the individual being taken across state lines. taking that all into consideration with what we are hearing now on social media and taking into consideration what many are sharing. Their videos are being posted on social media. I'm listening in on the Health Education Human Services Committee meeting right now, and we do have the representative, Teresa Hatkatli, who is currently giving a report on the same issue as well. So I think this is turning into it's turning into an issue, and it will eventually probably turn into a bigger issue. So I'm hoping that Department of Justice is on the line to help guide us in this case, or at least start moving forward in making sure that this doesn't happen. I don't think that this is happening at Hopi. And I know in New Mexico, I don't believe that the Pueblos would stand for any of this happening to their members as well. So do we have Department of Justice on the line? Latanya Johnson, are you on the line?
Madam Chair, this is Lorene. I emailed her.
Okay, while we wait for DOJ to get on the line, are there any other questions or comments from committee members or from any of the delegates who are listening in on this conversation? Delegate Eugene So, the floor is yours.
Tell them to turn on their headphones. Let's translate from Navajo to English. Whoever's listening. For decoded, was that you lost no about a lot earlier. The combat is because to the code jurisdiction issue not there in this cost. I read on a company. And also in the audit is okay the whole what company. Pretty sure there's a check in this. If every time you go to the hospital, they check you in. They give you a hand with your numbers on it. And then they always ask you for your insurance. Who's going to pay for it out of your pocket, or do you have a personal insurance, access, etc.? But our area, everything is that way. Everywhere you go, you check in. So, so, and then also they always ask you who's your next of kin or who's your contact. There's a lot of questions that we're asked when we go into a hospital or sometime other places, federal building. That's so how it is about them. It's our kids dollars. I about husband. All that's in the question is cost. All cost. That's easy. But all the even yes. I like I said, jurisdiction. I should be hello when there's many times that the cut. Take the people that are drunk or somehow as a drunk. For me, anybody can persuade me if they have a bottle. And I can go with them. When I was an alcoholic, that's how I used to be. It don't matter about my life. What might happen to me. Only thing I think about is that first that drink that they have, a bottle of wine or whatever. Or that happen that you go. I'm not a cake that is touch. Eight out of cake that has stayed in the Italia. It's to be lured into that van with a bottle of wine or whatever they are using. Is it? So I just try not to really think that it is happening, but it seems that it is happening. Uh, In my life, in my years, it seems that everybody trusted one another. You can even leave the door open while you're sleeping. You don't have to close your ticket, etc. Those are the days when everybody trusted one another. These days, can't do that no more. Well, ilan ni kanta the kanta hila, hila na ye shi that it's not but all. So while you guys are waiting, that's what my concerns are. And luego ne dapat isi the krigo that on need. So I don't know if there's any at the Navajo Nation code that we can use. I know there has to be jurisdiction somewhere who can cross the Navajo Nation and pick up somebody and take them somewhere else. I think that's kind of not right to me. Would be state it shouldn't be like that. Just people luring people into a van and taking them away with whatever they use to lure those people in there. So we stayed. So we really need some investigators to really sniff this out. But I could probably have failed. Thank you.
Yeah, Delegate Eugene, so for that. Committee members, delegates who are listening in on this conversation, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Okay, not hearing anything. I know that we have LaTanya Johnson on the line from Department of Justice. Good morning, LaTanya. How are you?
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, members of the Law and Order Committee.
Ms. Johnson, thank you for being on the line. We just received a report from Division of Public Safety and our Chief Prosecutor regarding Navajo people who are being transported off the Navajo Nation to facilities in Phoenix for rehabilitative services or sometimes detox services. We're not sure exactly the services. There has been some concern that has been shared on social media, but there's also concern coming out from Division of Public Safety and FBI as well. The question that I posed was whether we as a nation can prevent or exclude healthcare facilities from entering, well, I guess healthcare facilities that are located off the Navajo Nation from entering the Navajo Nation to recruit or to take individuals off the Navajo Nation to the facilities that I guess they're trying to provide services to. Part of the issue that we are concerned about is there has been some concern about individuals being picked up while they were while they were intoxicated. There are some who are sharing on social media that when they got there to the facilities, they were not allowed to leave the facilities or to call family members. We currently have a lot of questions regarding the healthcare facilities, and Delegate Eugene So pointed out some really good I guess, issues. We don't know who these companies are and who they're taking off the nation. We do know that when an individual does not return home, the police are contacted and it's reported as a missing person. We understand that these individuals are over the age of 18 and they can leave the nation. However, a lot of the recruiting that's happening on the nation are questionable. So what we are asking is who are the companies and where are they located? Do they have a checklist for checking in individuals? Delegate Eugene So just now said, that they always question, insurance, like who's going to be paying for these services. And most importantly, are families, contacted when an individual is taken off the nation? I guess when it comes to, the individual agreeing to go get help. And then the last one is, the one that we always get questioned about is in the event that the individual is done with their treatment, who transports them home. And that's part of understanding who these companies are, what kind of services they are, the kind of services that they're recruiting for. So right now, our big concern is the transporting of Navajo people off the Navajo Nation who may not be aware that they are being transported off the nation. Can we exclude these healthcare companies? Chief Prosecutor Vernon Jackson made the distinction that excluding an individual is different from excluding a company. There's probably different requirements when it comes to that exclusion, which is why he asked that DOJ be present for this conversation. So with that, with everything that has been shared with you at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you, Ms. Johnson, and perhaps you can answer that question, or maybe it's going to be a directive coming out of Law and Order Committee to research that question so that we have an understanding and we can follow up with legislation. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate you providing an overview of the report that was previously provided. This issue, as you just noted, would require additional research. The DOJ would need to research this manner. In fact, my colleague, Michelle Begay-Nakai, would likely be the individual to research this matter. She just, in fact, received an inquiry from Department of Behavioral Health on this issue. The document in that situation made a claim of the border towns, similar situation, but happening off the Navajo Nation. So, Chair, I do request that DOJ will need additional time to research this matter as to determine what these providers are, because it seems that they are different than the transport providers, which Department of Health has authority and provides authority over. This appears to be a different situation that would require additional research. And as Vernon Jackson pointed out, this would be more of a legal entity situation versus the individual. I'm sure Mr. Jackson pointed out that the individual, there is a provision in in the criminal code regarding exclusion and the process in that particular matter. This would be more of a legal entity situation. So, Chair, if I do request that you provide additional time for DOJ to research this matter and determine and work in consultation with Department of Health regarding these healthcare facilities that are taking our Navajo people off the Navajo Nation, and these individuals appear to be intoxicated.
Thank you for that, Ms. Johnson. We do appreciate you coming on and making that known. I think that there's so many different angles right now with this issue. Not only are we talking about, like you stated, the transport of individuals, but we're also dealing with the transport of individuals off the Navajo Nation and what their mental state or their mental capacity is at that time. We're also dealing with possible, missing persons reports from families that are not being informed about these people, they may or may not be agreeing to services that are being provided to them there in Phoenix. We don't know the companies. We don't know at this point, what they're offering. And as was stated earlier by Deputy Chief Silversmith, they did try to call some of these companies, but they either don't want to talk to PD, or they phones go unanswered, or in some cases, the place is non-existent. So it is a little bit scary, and it should be, it needs to be addressed here soon. So we appreciate DOJ's assistance in this. We also had a chief prosecutor on the line to give us information of whether these warrant charges for kidnapping. And since there is the transporting of, individuals from, across state lines, whether this would warrant the FBI's involvement in these kidnappings that may or may not be happening. But I think the bottom line is there's just a lot of concern here on the Navajo Nation regarding our relatives who are out on the street, who may or may not be in the right minds to be making these types of decisions. So any assistance that we can get, if we have to drop legislation to exclude these companies from coming onto the nation to be doing this, then I think that's something that we should be doing. So any help, if you're going to be consulting with the Department of Health, I think that may be a good idea. So we do look forward to having this further discussion. What I will do is we'll go ahead and put this on the discussion for the next Law and Order Committee meeting. Right now, we can schedule it for December 12th. I think that should give you enough time to be able to get that information. It also would help assist, since we are in the process of amending Title 17, on whether that would be something that we would have to include within those revisions as well. So December 12th, are you good with that deadline?
As I previously mentioned, my colleague, Michelle Begay-Nalkai, will be the assigned person to be working with the Department of Health. I will make her aware of that deadline and have her make it priority. In the event, for some reason, we need additional time, I will reach out to Lorene to request for an extension. But I do want to note that we will make this a priority.
Thank you for that, Ms. Johnson. And we do, again, appreciate the assistance with the DOJ. So with that, committee members, are there any questions or any comments at this time regarding this report?
Madam Chair, it's a
Delegate Eugene So, the floor is yours.
little comment. In regards to some of these areas around the Navajo Nation, like I don't know about date of time, but the one that used to be Kennedy AA group, the one in Chinle, it was run by Southwest Indian Foundation out of Gallup, paid for all the house and everything. At that time, some alcoholics, they request other alcoholics, they want to go to a detox when they're really drinking or they're having a big hangover. They'll just take them to detox instead of buying them wine, etc. So then those things are signed off and everything is recorded, in the book, and then they'll notify whoever the next of kin is, if there has a wife or just some kids that he or she lives with. So those are notified before they were taken off the reservation. Usually Gallup is the only detox that was used, and then sometime Farmington. But and then after that, the detox will inform the family again if that person wants to go to a rehab, usually sometime in the Calvary rehab down in Phoenix or other places. So those were they were sent off sometime there in Colorado, so for the 4 to 5 days recovery to rehabilitate, and then they want to go 4 to 5 days again. They'll go 4 to 5 days again. So it's really it's all recorded. I don't know why this one here is not. Seems that something is going on. That's not. It don't seem right. I'm pretty sure everybody does things for cash. That's what they're after. Seems like what's going on is for cash. I don't know how they're getting it from them, but maybe they will try to tell the excess or any other insurance that they were there and that they did what they did with that person, and they might have signed some papers without knowing. So those are some of the issues that's really, I think that's really a tough case of how you can prove this thing, what is being done out there right now. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Eugene. So Latanya Johnson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Based on what you summarized, you noted that we don't know who these entities are, but Deputy Chief Silversmith had noted that they did contact somebody. So I will be reaching out to Deputy Chief Silversmith to determine who they contacted so we can find out what the scope of these entities are so we can review our Navajo Nation laws, and in the event it's silent, then of course we'll be working with you to discuss options of, how we can address this in a resolution. Is there anybody else who had reached out or has a name for these possible entities that are picking up our Navajo people? That would also help, so we can also research on our end to determine the scope of these entities coming onto the Navajo Nation.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. So I think my understanding is that there is an officer who is in charge, Officer Roland Dash, who probably would have that information. My guess is, well, I know that there has been a lot of posts on Facebook, and pictures of healthcare transports, coming onto the nation, picking up Navajo people. I know that I have been tagged in those. I can probably have my assistant go through my Facebook page to kind of give you guys a list. I believe that there was like 3 transport services, and all 3, it was I was told on Facebook that they are non-existent, that the search, I guess, I'm not sure, using maps or using one of the services, the apps on Facebook, showed that these companies are not even in existence right now. So that's why it's bringing a lot more concern to us, is that we don't even know who these companies are. We don't know, who they're picking up. We don't know, what services they're promising to provide. We don't even know, how individuals are.
Just Facebook it. Just Facebook it.
Phone number ending in 644. We appreciate your comment, but if another outburst like that will hang up on you, we understand that we can Facebook it. We appreciate the comment again, but please make sure your phone is on mute. If you don't know how to mute your phone, hang up. You're interrupting the work that is being done on behalf of the Navajo people. So Ms. Latanya Johnson, we can go ahead and we can start working to put that list together for you. And then also, if you want to reach out to Police Officer Roland Dash, that may be another option or another alternative in terms of which companies have been reported thus far.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. So with that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Not hearing anything, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor back over to to our presenters, Chief Noon, Deputy Chief Silversmith, and Chief Prosecutor, Mr. Jackson. I believe that Delegate Eugene shared his comments and then also his questions. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you at this time so that you guys can address those.
Madam Jackson with the Office of the Chief Prosecutor. I just wanted to add a little bit of structure to the differences between the individual and a company. Under Title 17, 1901, it does clearly articulate language that pertains to a person. It does not clearly delineate a company per se. So that's Title 17, 1901. Added to that are the rules governing the procedures for excluding an individual or excluding. The rules are entitled Navajo Rules of Exclusion Proceedings. And in those rules, it states clearly that the rules were designed for an individual, not for a company. So I think we're getting closer to the legal constraints that we face concerning individuals versus companies. We did hear from the Assistant Attorney General Latanya Johnson concerning her position concerning the company. I also wanted to say that I think it's imperative that the Navajo police not neglect in which they are not. I'm just saying that they not neglect the interactions with the local prosecutor's office or here with the chief prosecutor's office concerning these cases, because I think that if a case is to be developed, and we see this typically in these matters that straddle this federal jurisdiction versus Navajo Nation jurisdiction. In many cases, the federal government may say that, well, there's no intent or no knowing culpable mental state to do something wrong here. So you won't charge the person, and then the matter comes back to the Navajo Nation. It's always good that we're engaged, we're involved. So any kind of police reports that identify individuals, particularly those who were Native Americans / Navajo Nation members, we certainly would like to know about those cases, because those cases can develop into a situation where the arm of the Navajo Nation may be doing something civilly to deal with the company. Let's say the office of the prosecutor can also deal civilly with individuals, particularly those who are within the jurisdiction of the Navajo Nation courts. In those cases can be charged, and in those cases, company names can be attached to those individuals who are performing work under those companies. And I'm not necessarily saying that that would be the catalyst for excluding these companies, but it will help to tell the story that these companies are in fact the ones who are perpetuating the acts of these individuals. I see a lot of these health transport companies being drivers, being Navajo members, which are clearly under the jurisdiction of the Navajo Nation. And I know that we don't want to jump to conclusions either to say that these companies are the ones who are doing this and that they are the sole perpetrators of this activity. But what we are talking about is the possibility that they are the entities who are driving this behavior. So I think it's important that communication between the police and the office of the prosecutor continue as things develop. And if there's opportunities to charge an individual who is within the jurisdiction of the Navajo Nation, then we as prosecutors should be given that opportunity to look at the matter, particularly if it gets into other issues and other matters dealing with, let's say, these companies, these transport companies, health transport companies who are perpetuating this activity. I think there's a lot to say about a person who's intoxicated, who let's say appears to be given consent to be taken against, I want to say against his will for a minute, and he may think that it's not against his will, but when a person's intoxicated or under the influence of some sort of drugs, I think that there is an argument that can be made that the person didn't make a sound decision about being taken away and kept in a car and transported off into another jurisdiction. So, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Mr. Jackson. We appreciate that the thoroughness that you I guess shared with us here regarding the importance of having the Navajo Nation Prosecutor's Office involved in the process. So we appreciate that. Committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time regarding this report? Okay, not hearing anything. We're going to go ahead then proceed to accept. Delegate Vince James, the floor is yours.
Ikehata sinale o kodo o tskilo de ya I bahadisteto altahige ikehan hidishnil salah has ande adonana agatit I hashka has ande ko di quigo shishal has ando kodokin dahlachi like antil ilzit khawye jadetro ajid ya nihil has anegi شدنا أن لني تكويشي كنت عاود إيا أتكيدا بإليا سلي أدو يشتني إليا تقول سبيش الخونة إتا هي يشتني أخو شلان أكو أتكون زهته That was back in March. Ita Ecuador, that was the first one. Akot shilchahot ko. Ita ahde fineste. Shit de kido shike. Den chio alia do ebena nashit do ni chokot ada be hata isti selenko. Ado ad anahund in halod hot an hitat del kalo ada alia selente. The quinilt eshi ade ini kai. Kodo the nenit lini do na kai. La ahot chitanit chokot do ye hata hasti selenko. At kunza de quishin de zit enta enta hajopa o da wot lango de no lango ni hilch holji selin ko hya de quishin de ne akot ya yit hadi ya go unda asho no zit ala ani kwa gin hije na hot no zit la ko hya don habanat enigi atolla Diego it's out that hidden neta atolla Diego it's out that ella height auda in not but isn't dot iheben na ella hat hid dish ni ako at konde ye ni hilchita de bego asho ella abanat ella ako hot out shesezendo ni hitche hadiste ako Diego la ni il ado nse il kesi it ako yedo komp nebel ke hast ini la hot ni hits akoda za selin ako ashon yan han nahas ako ni hin hitlas ando ba he nitzen ako nahan nata dis kaigi ako ado na jola ashon ya akoda ni zin la to jo hot ado ba hol ne sto ako ashon atlani yikite ya joto no to ba hol ne ako adatse anini ki it adatse ani to lo hi ki at jokot ako ashi ani o nte ni heten en leni nzago abiti ke koko bebeso da ateno da abits isen leni beje na hot ota akon hits anza abito ke koko sheda habit do le khashta hot do le the net adon hanat zasha jokota na has aban sa case ako o hat egita bikina dot on jono papaya na nilti joko don habo honet zada ako hot aslan hitne azel ende da azet chete on hits ajeta haten ka hot ni hits hoya at the hage le ako hot o alt so vilket dessa då ashin kodon hilche hot då lislako adon nades to tats ado kashmish khaljish dats in hilche na dot aln so don ses case ako shinale kodon ha large dasin ta kodon hidish kilako ado kashmish na khaljish an update report na dot lisle akot ha egi hol jisto hat egi that sol kaigi has jokodat ahodat akohon shende ni hilchina dot atle jokot ado en hidish kil ako aden hiln da sol ne ahot ad bana itish kalako do hot shnalen leni chair which hojo ba dini do lil ishi ade update report ishin khanadas dot lil kot iba hasti do lil ha shnale do LOC members ni linigi do she hasti lo isen oltai kwedi do lil ha
Yeah, Chanela, Delegate Vince James, yes, we can get a report before Christmas. And in fact, what I'm thinking right now is we may need to get this a full report from behavioral health, from Division of Public Safety, from prosecutor's office. I guess internally within the Navajo Nation, we may need to get this report to the entire Navajo Nation Council. I can work with Speaker So to see when that is something that we can do so that this information is shared, and I'll request that we do this before Christmas. So I can start working on that, Chanela, Delegate Vince James. With that, I'm going to turn the floor back over to the presenters since Delegate Vince James did have some concerns and questions as well. So I'll turn the floor over to you to answer.
Shanant, this is Deputy Chief Silversmith. In regards to Shanant, Eugene, so the neck about on Hakishi on Habonets out, so be cool. Oh, the dot Nilisha, ya, they never care how so go cool the Hastuido son in Alchindo, Nimado, Nimayaj, Elkid not eat or cool. Katishi chedel kain del wahatnini nihit na yitlahi do ha goshin beta alnigi to bada hazenda to benda hot zingi atsun do kunde bada hasne do kunde basin the case we get coded number sala aja Facebook destiny aja da ba is so do ku ni salab nan ta ka age yata setta Sergeant Roland dash a aja telephone number. And then also in response to Honorable Delegate look until dog is to need add and Nibahon do add Sala Kate Hati Credo Trade add Sala Kate had a days edo ado job is hard and بتشددو اللي هذا شيء شيء تو هذا بس هذا هو توي كأي دار كسبكها نو ده أو يلصق نو كأي هذا بتشده بأهزني بكي بس تخنيجي كأي لايسنس بي أو التصو بأهزن نو بنشة آدن لويا هي شيء ده آدن ده الكاتو آدن استو كونده Shanantai, Eugene so jurisdiction, but I think Kidigi Kwage. Kodo that Eshido ad easy at the home, Nishigishin, but na Didi Washington, Salado, and he Salado Kunde in the Ashkaya Nakre. Ad Ashta Nahot, Ado Abadahoz, hot. Ashi ani التخون دا اسكاو شي بيتا هوزن شي كواجي فن نيجي اندو نيتو ادو كيشمش خلجش شي كواجي فن نخاندو تاسو بكن ان استرايدو بيتا هوزن نيجي I guess Jojoba Lagonic I guess Honorable Charles Newton as the representative of Law and Order Committee, I guess one of the things that we've also kind of come upon is, and DOJ might have to do research on this, is that this might be a tactic that is allowable under state law for the Arizona portion of as far as recruiting for rehabilitation candidates. And I think it's just pretty much, there might be potential that these companies are extending their services onto Navajo Nation. But again, it's true and correct that Navajo Nation is a sovereign nation, and some of the state laws and federal laws really don't apply to Navajo land. But really, again, that's for Navajo DOJ to interpret and provide us a report back on. And we will cooperate with the Department of Justice as far as getting information shared to them of the companies that we've identified thus far. We will provide a meeting and a report to Chief Prosecutor. Agenda anishinde I guess le yisi bin yet hege in the hostoha hot so the other le he shinte other down niki bin na be other Washington the besala yisi da kan ki o bin nashe kodo na ite kiri do kunde o ini do but I khati ya hi na bete kido kwa ginal sosen da hitla do kunde biche kote ilne. So it's that's catching a quite again John Hitchena done so better housing the little a kid at neck at a could Joe and cool the neck at the art for Nikita detail because see the little about they need taught she cados and the net never care at the cow down not sunny could oh Joe it got no eat or less Nikitini. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Deputy Chief Silversmith. So with that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Okay, not hearing anything, we'll go ahead and proceed forward. A motion was made by Delegate Vince James, a second by Delegate Edmund Yazzie. Sherelle, can you assist us with roll call vote to accept the report?
Yes, Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Another Delegate James votes green. Yeah.
Thank you, Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Oh, it is okay.
Thank you, Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Honorable Edmund Yazzie votes green. Honorable Speaker Otto So is excused. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and 2 not voting. Madam Chair.
Thank you for that. With the vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting, this report is hereby accepted. We appreciate the report, Chief Noon, Deputy Chief Silversmith, Chief Prosecutor Jackson, and also from DOJ, Latanya Johnson. We appreciate you all being on the line. We're going to go ahead and excuse you at this time. Again, thank you for that. I'm preparing an email right now to send to Speaker So to request that we have this meeting since it does involve many players. So hopefully this will be done before Christmas. Thank you for your report today.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and proceed forward to the next item on the agenda. We do have update report from Lucinda Yellowhair, Probation Officer for Probation Services, on the plan of operation that needs to be updated. Do we have Ms. Yellowhair on the line? Miss Yellowhair, are you on the line? Miss Yellowhair? Last and final call for Miss Lucinda Yellowhair.
Madam Chair, this is Steve Edsity. I'm trying to get her. She may have a problem with her *6.
Miss Lucinda Yellowhair, if you're on the line, I understand that earlier you did announce that you were on the line. I don't see you on the line right now, but we do need to proceed forward. So
Madam Chair, this is Steve at City. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mr. Atsidi. Lorraine, let's
Yeah,
go ahead and let's put Miss Lucinda Yellowhair on the next agenda for Law and Order Committee.
But she just texted me. She's hanging up and trying to call in again. Might be her connection. She was trying to speak, and she said that we couldn't. Well, she said she was connected, but she didn't have good audio. If I may, just to ask for another minute or so for her to call back in.
Hello, Madam Chair?
Yes, Miss Yellowhair.
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I think I was listening to everything, but it just wouldn't connect you. I couldn't get *6, so I had to disconnect and call back again. So I'm sorry for that. Thank you.
So with that, committee members, we do have the presenter on the line with us this morning. Can I get a motion and a second to hear the report?
Motion, Delegate James.
Thank you. Delegate Vince James, can I get a second?
Okay, change it.
Second made by the Honorable Eugene. So Ms. Yellowhair, you have presented to this committee before. This is an update regarding your plan of operations. I would like to remind everyone who is listening to make sure their phone is on mute. Ms. Yellowhair, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning again. And thank you, everybody. Good morning, Madam Chair, Eugenia Charles Newton, committee members, and everyone who is on this line. Have been a good morning. So from the last meeting, when I did a report on the probation paroles, it was noted to me that I had to update the plan of operation that needed to be done within so many years. So I went ahead and got the assistance of a couple of staff attorneys within Judicial Branch, and we went ahead and worked on it. So what you have is actually a draft plan of operations, which again will be turned into a proposed legislation. But right now we're going to just discuss, or I'm just going to report and perhaps discuss the changes that are made. Simply changes that are made is just basically language to the duties and responsibilities, which are basically very similar. It's just within the last 10 years, we just enhanced the language in it to pretty much simply versatile the duties and responsibilities that we're doing. So what I have, first of all, if you all have the draft of the plan of operation, again, before I continue, let me introduce yourself. My apologies. My name is Lucinda Yellowhair. I am originally from Navajo and have been working with the Judicial Branch for many years. So I am now in the position of the Chief Probation Officer overseeing the Navajo Nation Probation Services. So allow me to introduce myself before I actually get into the draft plan of operation. So first is, of course, number one is under the establishment, no changes to that, under the two purpose. And under purpose, we have 4 sections, which is A, B, C, and D. Under 1, we just changed the language from to enhance is to promote, because primarily that's what we do under probation services, to promote community safety and reduce recidivism through the supervision, monitoring, and rehabilitation of adults and juveniles referred to probation parole services by the court. So again, the duties and responsibilities are primarily the same. We just kind of shifted the language a little bit to simplify that, but it's basically the same. And then we go to B, B reading that to incorporate the effective and industry standard models and the Navajo restorative justice principles to develop personalized case plans for each client of probation parole services. Again, first, it read that to facilitate and perform needs and for each case plan for, again, adult and juveniles, and it specifically went to diversion programs and whether the community is or in detention or is working with their family. So we simplified it to say, to incorporate the effective, which includes everything, and the industry standard models, which could be anything from, again, a diversion plan or, risk assessment models, and then to incorporate, of course, the Navajo restorative justice models and law issues. So that is all, again, simplified into one instead of taking it apart and be specific on certain things. As a lot of people know that in probation and parole services, trends do change, models do change. The evidence-based practice used in the Western models, and then our Navajo restorative theories and practices also, change with our population today. And so we invite as it relates to our clients that are referred from the court. So that's basically what we did. And then C says we changed it, or we modified it to promote community wellness and harmony by providing probation and parole clients with one-on-one engagement, support, life skills education, case management, referrals for treatment counseling, monitoring and supervision utilizing the interdisciplinary approach, and family community participation in order to enable the reintegration back into society as law-abiding and productive members of the community. So see, again, the duties and responsibilities are the same. We just simplified the language to include everything in there so that, our duties and responsibilities doesn't sound so redundant. And then under D, we put to provide services to the Navajo courts by preparing pre-sentence reports and predisposition reports, as well as providing courtesy supervision to foreign jurisdiction pursuant to an intergovernmental agreement. Again, under D, the first time is to perform indigency determination. And what we did was we went ahead, to perform the indigency determination is actually under the third one, which is duties and responsibilities. So we took that out and put it under there, and I'll read that one. But under D, we went ahead and changed it to say that we do predisposition reports for adults and for juveniles, and pre-sentence reports for adults, and providing also the courtesy supervision as it's requested for courtesy from foreign jurisdictions. So those are our 4 main purposes, basically, is what we're doing. So we kind of had to take some out and put it under duties and responsibility, and then think out the purpose of what we really primarily do. So those are listed under A, B, and C. So as far as the third one, under staffing, we left that as it is. There's really no changes that need to be made, so we just left that as. So going to 4, under responsibilities and authority, we did make some changes. Again, restructured some of the purpose under here, because it's actually written under responsibility and authority. So under A, under the responsibility and authority, there was no change made under A. There's no change made under B. And then C, in the older version, it basically said to ensure. We went ahead and corrected that language to state is basically what we do is to assist the court by monitoring or supervising an adult or juvenile person in fulfilling the conditions and obligations imposed by the court. So basically, that's what we do when we are monitoring and supervising any post-sentences adjudication done by the courts. And then we go under that, we went to D, and under D, we went ahead and stated that to network and collaborate with tribal, county, state, and federal resources in order to provide more efficient probation and parole services to the Navajo people. So instead of saying to gather, exchange, and maintain information, we just corrected the language to simplify again. Then under D, we went ahead and changed it from the previous wording to provide information to the courts, because that's basically what we do, agencies and the community. This power and responsibility includes providing information through community outreach and education in order to promote community participation in the safe reintegration of clients into the community. Again, it's just basically just simplifying and taking out any types of redundancy that could have been, that was there before. So we just simplify that. And then under F, to perform independent investigations and question of individuals, including witnesses, victims, family, friends, schools, and agencies for information gathering purposes in order to generate necessary assessments and recommendation, and that would be to the court. So basically, that's what we have. Again, we just simplified the language and legally clarified that. And then under G, we took from the purpose, we just kind of rearranged that and brought it down to here, as I stated before. So it's going to state to assist foreign jurisdiction with courtesy supervision of probationers, parolees living within the territorial jurisdiction of the Navajo Nation pursuant to an intergovernmental agreement. So basically, that's what we did, was we took out G and to state that we ensure that basically all we're doing is providing, again, courtesy supervision. So that's what we have. And then under H, we did go ahead and just minor changes from ensure to encourage rehabilitation, accountability, and personnel responsibility by using all practical resources to encourage community reintegration, competence, self-worth, and self-improvement. Again, we work with the population that would need help, as I had mentioned before, just, simple life skills and so forth. And this is what we do, is we encourage that. So I, instead of ensuring, we encourage. So I, next one, there was no changes made to I. And then J, we did some minor changes again from efficient comprehensive reports to state to provide comprehensive pre-sentence reports, predisposition reports, risk and needs assessment, and status report where proper and where it's necessary. So we made those slight simple changes again. And then to L, no changes to L. And then just minor clarification on M to use or to word it as to provide case management for services to clients and continual development and maintain secure, current, and accurate case records. And then M, we did make some slight, again, legal change, wording changes to word it as to process application for legal counsel and indigency assessments in accordance with applicable law and policy. And then there, under O, again, we just, legal clarification and language to state to perform drug and alcohol tests when ordered by the court to do so. So when we are ordered by the court to go ahead and perform alcohol testing, then we go ahead and do those things. So that's what I have, Madam Chair, and committees of the law and order. Those are just, again, changes and modifications and update we did to our plan of operations. Again, this is with regards to just simplify and take out redundancy and enhance the services that we do today to simply so that it's versatile, that what works for the probation officers to use to manage cases, to supervise and monitor these cases referred by the courts are, they're able to utilize what works for them and their clients, again, to reintegrate back into society as productive members of their family and the community. So really that's the basis of doing what we do under our duties and responsibility and purpose. So I don't have any further other than the report I just provided, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Ms. Yellowhair. So with that, committee member, a motion and a second has been established. It sounds like the probation services has updated their plan of operations. I just need some guidance. Laureline, does a legislation have to be dropped with this plan of operations updated? Does it have to accompany a legislation? Can you provide us some guidance?
Yes, Madam Chair. If the legislation is for the purpose of approving an amended plan of operation, then the amended plan of operation should be an exhibit to that legislation. However, it doesn't mean that the committee, when considering that exhibit, that the committee can't make changes. Of course, the committee could say, we want to amend the plan of operation. I've seen some plans of operation that have gone through the Executive 164 review process. And so the question would become whether, if the committee desires changes to that plan of operation, if that would need to be reviewed by DOJ and others in the review process. I think it would depend on the nature of the amendments that the committee would desire. It would be helpful to have DOJ on the committee call during the presentation of the plan of operation in case a legal issue comes up if the committee desires to further amend the exhibit. But yes, the exhibit, the plan of operation should be an exhibit to the legislation if the purpose of the legislation is to approve an amended plan of operation. Thank you. Were you able to get that, Madam Chair?
Yes, I apologize. It kind of went out a little bit. I'm not sure if it's my end, but I think you said that we don't need a legislation.
I'm sorry, I thought the question was whether the plan of operation needed to be finished and with the amendments, the proposed amendments, if that needed to be attached as an exhibit to legislation that would approve amendments to the plan of operation. And so my answer was yes, the proposed amended version of the plan of operation should be made an exhibit to legislation that will approve those amendments.
Okay, so if Ms. Yellowhair, if you are ready to go, I can go ahead and drop that legislation today.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for that. So with that, committee members, a motion and a second has been established. Are there any questions or comments regarding the updated plan of operations? Okay, not hearing anything, we can go ahead and proceed forward to a vote. Sherelle, can you assist us with roll call vote?
Madam
Please?
Chair,
Yeah, Delegate Eugene So, go ahead, the floor is yours.
did she say it can be amendment on the amendments on the floor? Thank you.
Why would we need to make that amendment on the floor? We'd need to drop a legislation with the amendments, Delegate Eugene. So
I got questions on a few of them in regards to rehab, encouraging rehab, but I need to read it more. Thank you.
thank you, Delegate Eugene. So so we have to drop legislation and yeah, they'll have time to review it, Delegate Eugene. So because once the legislation request is dropped, then it goes through the 5-day comment period. So you have a few days, Delegate Eugene, so to review the plan of operations. Are there any other questions or comments at this time from committee members? Okay, not hearing anything, we can go ahead and proceed forward to the vote at this time. Sherelle, can you assist us with roll call vote, please?
Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate Jam votes green.
Thank you, Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Honorable Edmund Yazzie votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Nunez, 2 in favor,
No.
0.
I'm sorry. Ms. Hubble? Hello? Lorraine, can you mute her?
Madam Chair, I think it's the background on my, Ramona's recording on down.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Sherelle. You were getting ready to announce the vote.
Okay, the vote is 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Eugenia Charles Newton not voting. Honorable Speaker Otto So is excused, and Honorable Eugene So not voting. Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Sherelle. So with that, the report, Ms. Yellowhair, is hereby accepted. I'll go ahead and drop legislation today and attach this this plan of operation as I guess that it's completed, and then we can proceed from there. So thank you, Ms. Yellowhair. You are excused from the Law and Order Committee.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and proceed forward to the next item on the agenda, old business. We have none. Item number 7, we have legislation number 0224-22. This is a legislation that is being sponsored by Delegate Edmund Yazzie and Delegate Eugene So, both who are present on the line at this time. It is eligible for action as of today, November 21st, 2022. So with that, I'll go ahead and have the legislation read into the record at this time. Lorraine, can you assist us with that, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee. Tracking number 0224-22. Sponsors are Edmund Yazzie, Honorable Edmund Yazzie, Honorable Eugene So, Honorable Carl Slater. An act relating to the Law and Order and Navajo committees and the Nomination Council, amending the Nomination Criminal Code at 17 NMC Section 320 by recognizing concealed weapon carry permits issued by states. And this will move forward to Navajo Committee and Nomination Council and has gone through the 5-day comment period. And there is one comment supporting this legislation and is attached to this legislation at the end of this document here. Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you for that, Lorraine. So with that, committee members, the legislation is to the record. Can I get a motion and a second for this legislation?
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Delegate Edmund Yazzie. Can I get a second?
Okay, Delegate James.
Second made by Delegate Vince James. Committee members, we can do this two ways. Number one is if there are questions regarding this legislation, we can give the sponsor and his agent up to 20 minutes to present to the committee, and then we open it up for questions. Upon completion, we can go to a vote. If there are no questions regarding this legislation, we can proceed forward to the vote. So I'd like to ask the Law and Order Committee members at this time, are there any questions regarding legislation number 0224-22?
And therefore, we're having personnel problems in terms of recruiting for those specific areas. But if you
Not hearing anything. There will be no questions, so we're going to go ahead and proceed forward to the vote. Sherelle, can you assist us with the roll call vote for legislation number 0224-22?
Yes, Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Because right now we're just currently getting our reimbursement to just in time.
Honorable Eugene Sell, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Thank you, Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene Sell, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Honorable Edmund Yazzie votes green. Honorable Eugene Sell, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Eugenia Charles Newton not voting. Honorable Speaker Otto So is excused. And Honorable Eugene So not voting, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Sherelle. So with a vote of 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not voting, this legislation does proceed forward to the Nabi-Kiyatskek Committee. Thank you, Delegate Edmund Yazzie and Delegate Eugene So for this legislation.
Thank you for the votes, committee members and Madam Chair.
So with that, committee members, we now proceed forward to new business item B, discussion purposes. Committee members, so there technically are 2 things that we do need to discuss. Number 1 is I made the decision, and I apologize for not consulting with the Law and Order Committee. We did have Delegate Vince James on the line during that time, and Delegate Eugene So as well. But November 28th, we have a regular scheduled Law and Order Committee meeting that's supposed to start at 10. However, we went ahead and we made the decision to postpone this meeting for reasons that we are now pushing for the Title 17 amendments. On November 28th, the Law and Order Committee will be having a leadership meeting with the prosecutor's office, with Division of Public Safety, with Detention Center, and many others who were involved with the amendments to Title 17. During that time, on November 28th, we did task Lorraine Spencer to find a location for us to have this leadership meeting so that we can move the Title 17 amendments forward. We are moving on a very, very strict timeline in order to meet the December 31st deadline by law. That means that the Title 17 amendments, the strike-throughs and underlines have to be completed in 1 day. It then proceeds forward to the Department of Justice for review, and we're giving Department of Justice until December 5th to have that completed. On December 6th, the legislation will have to be signed, and it will be submitted for the 5-day comment period. The 5-day comment period will end on December 11th. On December 12th, we do have a Law and Order Committee meeting that is scheduled at Twin Arrows Navajo Casino Resort. And at that time, Title 17, the amendments will be discussed during that time. When the Law and Order Committee makes their vote, we are scheduled for a special Nabik Iatske December 14th at 10 o'clock a.m. And this is specifically for Title 17 amendments. December 15th is a 10 o'clock special council session specifically for Title 17. The reason we had to cancel our November 28th meeting is because we need to review the amendments that have been made by the prosecutor's office with Law and Order Committee, with Division of Public Safety, with Office of Legislative Counsel, with Department of Justice, so that we all proceed forward and that this task is done in that one day. So again, committee members, we did have a meeting on Friday, a leadership meeting to have this discussion. And it was at that time that the decision was made to cancel the November 28th Law and Order Committee meeting and instead have a leadership meeting. In terms of the December 12th meeting, the reason we are having that at Twin Arrows is to allow the chapters to come out and to tour the substation, since part of the tasks that we have been trying to address at Law and Order Committee is not only the Title 17 amendments, but also the facility replacements. We are have been working with the investment committee to request a $175 million bond. And we have legislation ready to go for Citizen at 72 million, with a total of 247 million that will be needed to build 11 facilities throughout the Navajo Nation. Shiprock Police Department being one of those, Delcon Police Department, and Pinyon. Window Rock is not a part of that listing because Window Rock just started. They just recently got their land withdrawn. So they are going through the process of the planning stages at this point. The funding that is going to be provided by the bond are for those projects that are shovel ready. And that means that when the funds are granted, that they have to be ready to build in the spring. So we've been tackling two big major tasks at Law and Order Committee, the facility replacement, and then also the Title 17 amendments. So the meeting on December 12th will allow us to give the chapters who have yet to tour the facility, the substation. It'll give them the opportunity to look at the substation, since that substation is scaled to build. So that's the reason why there has been a few changes made to our calendar. So with that, committee members, this is just for discussion purposes. I don't think any votes need to be taken. We will be postponing the November 28th meeting to another date. In addition to that, I'll also be proposing the rescheduling of December 26th date, since that's the day after Christmas. I think many of us will probably still be recovering from Christmas with family coming in. So we'll be looking at possibly rescheduling that Law and Order Committee meeting as well. So with that, committee members, are there any questions or any comments to the information that I've shared just now?
The proposal that's on the table that was submitted.
Also, committee members, please be mindful that on Wednesday, November 23rd at 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, we do have a public safety update meeting that we'll be providing to the entire Navajo Nation on KGAK and KNDN. I know that Chief Noon has been invited, but I know that Director Delmar has also been dealing with a lot of emergencies lately. So I will reach out to Chief Noon to make sure that he is on the call, as well as Director Dolores Gray Eyes for detention, and then criminal investigations, Michael Henderson. So that will be a joint, announcement that will be made to the Navajo people during that 2-hour time frame to update them on what is happening with public safety and justice, and what the work that has been ongoing with the Law and Order Committee. Again, that's 10 to 12 at KGAK here in Window Rock. It is an in-person forum, so hopefully we get some people who will be able to participate during that time. So with that, committee members, are there any questions or any comments regarding the information that I just now provided? Not hearing anything, I believe that we are now at the close of the meeting. Are there any announcements that need to be made at this time? Oh, the Nick Ego, the Nick Ego, Shaja. Da a radio forum, ba a the Nick Ego. So with that, committee members, we are now.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn made by Delegate Vince James. Can I get a second? Delegate made by Delegate, second made by Delegate Eugene So to adjourn at 12:50. Sherelle, can you assist us with roll call vote, please?
Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Thank you, Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Thank you, Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Honorable Edmund Yazzie votes green. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, and Honorable Speaker Otto So is excused. Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Sherelle. So with that, committee members, we are hereby adjourned at 12:50. Thank you for joining the call. Thank you for your votes today. And until our next meeting, that is going to be scheduled December 12th at Twin Arrows Navajo Casino Resort. So with that, committee members, you guys be safe out there. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy time with the family and, just make the most of it. Have a good day.